Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Canal Algérie's Midnight 30 Bulletin and tonight's top stories. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres expresses his admiration for the comprehensive view of the President of the Republic for international affairs and his role in promoting peace and stability on the regional and international levels. أدرس في الجزائر or Study in Algeria project dedicates 8,000 scholarships for foreign students to study in Algerian universities in accordance with competitive pedagogical approaches. Lastly, a portrait and an Algerian young lady passionate with art, more precisely the weaving of carpets. Welcome again. First in our news, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has expressed his admiration for the President of the Republic's comprehensive vision for international affairs and his role in promoting regional and international peace and stability. Further, praising the President's knowledge of international affairs and recalling the in-depth discussions he held with the President of the Republic on the sidelines of his participation in the Arab Summit held in Algiers. The UN Secretary General also welcomed Algeria's efforts in its principled position for a quick, lasting and comprehensive settlement for various crises such as the Western Sahara issue, the Libyan crisis, the situation in the Sahel region and Mali. Antonio Guterres also praised the distinguished relations between Algeria and the UN, further describing it as exemplary. The UN Secretary General's remarks came during a meeting with the principal private secretary to the presidency of the Republic, Nadir al-Arbawi, following the end of the latter's mission as permanent representative of Algeria to the United Nations. Air Algérie flights from London to Algiers will experience disruptions during the period from March 31st to April 9th, following the strike notice of security staff at London Airport, the national airline company informed in a statement. Thus, the travelers concerned are asked to present themselves with the minimum baggage and to respect the requirement of only one piece of hand luggage in order to facilitate the flow at the airport and ensure the smooth running of transition of flights during this period. The statement added, for more information, the company invites passengers to contact its agencies or its contact center. أدرس في الجزائر or Study in Algeria is a project that managed to attract more than 8,000 foreign students in order to study in Algerian universities in different fields. A project that aims to enhance the quality of higher education and scientific research and to enhance as well the attractiveness of Algerian universities in accordance with competitive pedagogical approaches. Sabrina Tafilginet.
Thousands of foreign students have joined this program and came to resume their studies at the Algerian universities. A project that makes of the Algerian university more active across the African continent and internationally efficient.
كطالب موريتاني جاي هون نقرأ نختار.
As a Mauritanian student, I came here to study in the field of science and technology. We, the Mauritanian students, are hailing the quality of the studies at all levels.
دراسة عالية جدا ونحن كطلبة موريتانيين الدراسة هون ما شاء الله عجبتنا على جميع المستويات. أنا أتيت هنا.
I have a master's scholarship. I study in Algiers University 1 in Kharouba to receive Islamic sciences classes.
الهدف هو تحصيل العلوم الإسلامية.
J'ai participé à un concours d'admission.
I participated in a scholarship contest to continue my studies in Algeria. I love the program and made connections with the other students. I want to share what I studied with my country to participate in its development. And to facilitate the registration procedures, a platform dedicated to receive the first applications of foreign students was introduced. The concerned categories by these universities' registrations are the students that benefited from the government program for national scholarships. The second category comes under the framework of a bilateral cooperation between Algeria and Arab countries for diplomats and their kids who live in Algeria. Currently, we registered more than 8,000 students who are following their courses in Algerian universities. universities. Each year, we receive almost 2,000 to 3,000 students.
وكل سنة نستقبل حوالي بين 2000 إلى 3000 طالب.
The international student is considered as one of the indicators of universities' classification and states' categorization in the world. The international student also became an economic investment in both direct and indirect way. The moment the student comes to Algeria, he is considered as his country's ambassador. The second he leaves, he'll be Algeria's ambassador to his country. In this context, Algerian universities will receive additional 1,600 foreign students of different fields next year, a project that will improve the international ranking of Algerian university.
As part of the state-guaranteed care for the elderly, a visit was organized on Thursday to the Algiers Mosque, which allowed many elderly people in elderly homes in the capital to get acquainted with this religious infrastructure in response to their request. The visit was in the presence of the National Solidarity, Family Affairs and the Status of Women Minister Kautar Krikou and the Dean of the Algiers Mosque, Sheikh Ma'moun Al-Qasimi Al-Hassani. In order to preserve the national memory and in gratitude to those who made the glory of Algeria, the war veteran or mujahid and the scholar Mohammed Asghir Bilallam was honored on Thursday at the Dialogue Forum in the presence of the Minister of War Veterans and Rights Holders and the President of the Supreme Islamic Council. The Audiovisual Regulatory Authority recorded in one of the public television series, namely Adama, a snapshot following letters symbolizing a terrorist organization in one of the episodes of the series, asking the television for clarification on the subject, which is exactly what the television will do after investigating and taking the necessary measures. In international developments, the Palestinian people commemorated the 47th anniversary of Land Day on Thursday. 47 years of resistance and struggle commemorated this year in particularly difficult conditions marked by a brutal aggression by the Zionist army against the Palestinian people. More details with Rania Al-Bahri.
The Palestinians are more than ever determined to continue the fight until victory. They are commemorating the 47th anniversary of Land Day against the backdrop of an escalation of violence in the West Bank and Al-Quds. This date symbolizes the bloody events of March 30th, 1976, when Palestinians revolted against the decision of the Zionist entity to confiscate large proportions of Palestinian lands still held by the Palestinians after 1948. The occupier has started a policy of terror. Thus, 418 Arab villages were destroyed and the entire population have been forced in exile. Repressive practices that have not overcome the determination of the Palestinians, who prove resistance in the face of the Zionist occupier, who is pursuing its legal policy of setting up settlements to drive out the Palestinians, ignoring all international charters and laws. According to the Palestinian Central Bureau of Statistics, a considerable increase was recorded in the construction of colonies, demolitions, and Zionist aggressions. From his side, the Arab League calls on the international community to assume its responsibilities, to take serious and real measures to put an end to the Zionist occupation and ensure international protection for the Palestinian people and enable them to exercise their right to independence. On its side, the Arab Parliament denounced the unprecedented escalation of attacks by the settler militias against the Palestinian people during the month of Ramadan. The Arab Parliament calls on international community to intervene. Many countries have denounced the practices of the Zionist occupation at the Human Rights Council in Geneva and expressed their opposition to any Zionist project aimed at annexing the occupied West Bank.
The visit made by Sahrawi President of Venezuela coincided with a report from the U.S. State Department that negatively views the Makhzen's expansionist policy as well as a human rights violation. Details with Manal Ammari.
The Sahrawi cause is discussed more than ever before during international meetings, despite the efforts made by the Makhzen regime in vain to suppress the Sahrawi people's resistance. following the triumphant welcome reserved to the Sahrawi President Brahim Ghali by his Venezuelan counterpart, concluded by signing strategic bilateral agreements to strengthen cooperation, dialogue, and coordination between the two countries. An opportunity for President Maduro to reiterate Caracas's full commitment and unwavering support of the Sahrawi people to self-determination and independence. The report made by the U.S. State Department also dealt another heavy blow to Morocco's expansionist thesis. In the latest report made by the American Department on Human Rights, the Polisario Front is considered a liberation movement. It also dismissed the false propaganda on the Polisario Front's alleged links with terrorist groups. The Colombian President Gustavo Petro officially requested for Spain to invite Western Sahara to the Ibero-American Summit as an observer country.
I'm calling on this summit's participants to grant the status of observer country to Western Sahara by integrating the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic in this forum concerning history and culture that connect us to the Sahrawi people. I'm also calling for building links with the African continent.
This strong statement was made in the presence of the King of Spain, Felipe VI, and Prime Minister Sanchez. In August 2022, Colombia announced a decision to resume diplomatic relations with the Sahrawi Republic in accordance with the principles of the objectives of the UN Charter and the agreement concluded between the two countries on February 27, 1985. The Sahrawi issue has been receiving an unprecedented support, which continues to increase all over the world, namely with the establishment of diplomatic relations with certain countries that showed their attachment and respect to international legality and the right to self-determination and sovereignty of oppressed peoples.
The representative of the Polisario Front to the UN, coordinator with MINURSO, Mohamed Sidi Ammar, conducted in New York bilateral consultations with the UN Secretary General's personal envoy for Western Sahara, Staffan de Mistura, on the future of the peace process in Western Sahara under the UN. We wrap up tonight's bulletin with Ikram Nasij's portrait, an artist who, after resuming her studies in the U.S., decided to devote her time to her passion, Algerian art, namely needle weaving. She even created her own brand to sell her unique carpet models. More with Rania Al-Bahri.
Ikram Nasij is a creative artist passionate about needle weaving. Her unique carpets show her talent, and her know-how was transferred to other women in the region. It is a long process which requires patience and concentration. If you don't put the yarn in the right place, you miss the carpet. A carpet is 2 or 3 months of weaving. The women who manufactured it are very concentrated and smart. This handcraft was transmitted to us by our ancestors. It allowed us to reconnect with ourselves. Ikram created Nasij Home and then Nasij Art. After studying in an American art school, then she came back to the country. I associate weaving with a form of expression and serenity. Now I have moved to another stage, which is expression via weaving, so I express all my thoughts on these carpets. Deeply inspiring, Ikram hopes for facilitation so that these works and these carpets can be exported abroad.
And with that, tonight's bulletin comes to an end. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.